Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on this channel, the Sprite channel. So in case you're wondering, yes, I am recording this right after the Japan video where we unboxed and talked about my Japan experience. If you want to watch that, just click the link in my description. But today we're going to be looking at the one and only Mannequin cat. We're going to be talking about how we use it, what it does, as well as the targets for Mannequin cat. So Mannequin cat, 2000 attack and 900 defense, beast, light, rank 2, requires any 2 generic rank 2s, typically with 2 beavers at the end of your combo with sprint after dumping an angler. And so the first effect is to detach for cost one of its materials, as well as targeting a monster in your opponent's graveyard. So typically this will be like a hand trap. Maybe they ashed your starter or your gigantic, but it could also just be like any generic monster in their graveyard that you want to special summon onto their side of the field. So you target and it specials onto their side of the field, and then it has a second effect, which is a trigger. And that trigger is when there is a monster special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, you can target any one of their monsters, doesn't have to be the one that was special summoned, and then special summon one of the same attribute or type from your hand, deck, or graveyard, not the banished zone. Something worthwhile noting is if you're under starter or gigantic and you're locked under those, just like how you can't nib or super poly, you also cannot summon any non-2s. So maybe you have to look for a link 2 or a rank 2 or a level 2 instead from your opponent's graveyard. Now I'm going to demonstrate the standard combo with Ash Blossom in this case. So we're going to go Mannequin cat on your turn because they are both ignition. Well, the first one's ignition, the second one's trigger. We're going to use this ignition effect on your turn. So let's say it's a main phase 1 effect. Targeting the Ash. Ash is special summoned. You pick the zone as well and the position, and I'm going to go effect trigger of the special summon, targeting the Ash to summon a zombie or a fire from your hand or graveyard. Obviously, you don't have a zombie aside from like another Ash or like another hand trap, so we're going to summon either carrot or red from your hand, deck, or graveyard once again because they're both fire. And that would be the resolution of Mannequin cat. So now let's talk about the other targets. So before that, let's talk about the other scenario in which Mannequin cat's trigger effect could come up. So during your opponent's turn as well, what they can do is they can special summon any monster. It doesn't have to be off, an inherent summon. It could just be off, say, Branded Fusion. So let's say they special summon the Meow Mine because there's a link in either graveyard or on either field. You can also trigger the Mannequin without detaching for cost because it is just the trigger effect and that doesn't require any material whatsoever, which means that if you had no material here, same thing could trigger off the Meow Mine. So trigger, targeting, and you can special summon a Dark or a Cyburst on resolution. You might choose to special summon blue for more follow-up, or you can special summon Jet, or you can go into our list of cards here which you can barely see, I suppose. So let's go through the darks first. The darks, our options here are End of Anubis. This is good for any deck that requires a graveyard as it stops the graveyard effects. Requires a fiend or a dark, so it can stop T-Element if they summon a dark. It can stop Unchained as well if they summon a fiend or a dark. And other generic graveyard decks. Typically they're all dark, so works really well against them. Chaos Hunter against any banished deck. At some point people started playing Chaos Hunter against Cached Hero because they wanted them to shifter, and then you can Mannequin cat the shifter back just to summon Chaos Hunter to stop things from being banished. I personally don't think it's very good, but it might come up in the future, so this is more like a list of random cards that just could eventually come up in the future, not just current meta ones. Then we have Jinzo. Jinzo is a machine dark, so this is obviously for Labyrinth or any trap related decks that run dark cards. Great against Labyrinth if you get it off, but a bit gimmicky, I suppose. You can try playing it if it's just for Labyrinth and they're like at full power and they're really consistently in the format, then sure, run it. And then Cosmo Dark Lady, I'm pretty sure this is just a pop. Once per turn, when another monster's effect is activated, quick effect, you can pay 1000 life points to get the activation if you do destroy the monster. So it's negate and destroy, not too bad. Apologies if you can hear the beeping in the background. Next we have Wind. So Wind is going to be Spell Canceller, which is Wind and Machine. No real Wind meta threats right now, aside from Flu, which only requires normal summons, so this actually won't proc on any of them unless you get a Wind in graveyard and you special summon it back. Very unlikely, so don't bother running these. Spell Canceller, which is great for Striker, but like how often is Striker going to be in the meta to the point where it sees a slot in the side deck. And then you have Scary Moth, which is a Wind insect. It's like another Floodgate, but again, insects and winds aren't too common. Next, I want to talk about Fire quickly. So Fire is obviously a really big threat in the meta right now still, because the ban list hasn't really done too much to it. So in terms of Fire, I don't actually have it here, but the Great Shogun Qian limits each player to using, no, I think it limits your opponent only to using one spell or trap per turn. Aside from that, you can also just summon, again, Red or Carrot. And then we have Earth. So Earth is going to be Fossil Diner, Patchy, which is Earth or Rock. Remember, you can summon using either the attribute or the type, which is just a Floodgate because they can't special summon anymore. Be careful though, if their body is big enough and you don't have smashes or something to stop it from attacking, they can just swing over this. Then you have the Amorphages. So first there's Goliath and then the Sloth. They're both dragons and Earths. I think Sloth should almost be better. Only downside is Sloth, you contribute over one monster. Let's say you activate Starter and then you normal tribute summon Sloth, whereas Goliath will require 2 tributes if you draw it into your hand. Goliath might be a really good option for Tempai. I'm not too sure if they have options aside from board breakers like Droplet or some kind of board breaker card, maybe like Talents to take it off the field. But Goliath does stop both players from using their extra deck, which is good for most matchups, I'd say. And then finally we have Light. So Light is currently my most used one just because of this card alone. Let's get to that last. So Jalgan is another one that you guys are probably familiar with now because of what's the archetype called? It's been a while. Voiceless Voice, that's right. So they use Brand of Fusion to summon Jalgan back, and it's another Floodgate. Kind of annoying. Again, I'd rather Christia just because Jalgan seems a little weak and we can cheat out essentially any card. Then there's Thunder King Ryo. This was actually run in the mirror sometimes here and there because it acts like a Droll and Lockbird as well as an inherent summon negate, a special summon negate. That works well in the mirror match because it's also Thunder on top of Light. And then we have Christia. Of course, Christia is amazing against any Light deck or Fairy deck, which means Pearly because they're all Fairies. You can also run it against Voiceless because they're pretty much all Light, and some of them are Fairies, I think. I'm not too sure about that one. Any Light deck that special summons, if you see it like come up against you, just chuck this in. If they special summon any Light or Fairy, just Mannequin Cat, and then you pretty much steal the game unless they have some way of breaking it or stealing it. So something that I've actually seen quite a few times is people mentioning that you should always side in something like Spell Canceller or the Moth against people who play Droll. The thing is, you can never actually predict whether they're going to keep the hand traps in the first place and whether they're going to draw and activate it against you. So in the off chance that they don't draw it or they don't activate it against you, you're efficiently just adding in a brick for no reason. And then on top of that, you're also going to play into Nib more, even if it does resolve. So let's say you hypothetically do manage to go into Mannequin Cat because you have to use Mannequin Cat's effect before Gigantic or Starter. Otherwise you're locked into not summoning whatever your target is from your graveyard or the draw, or from your deck, sorry, or the draw from their graveyard. So it plays into Nib more, and overall it's just not worth it. That is all for now. So that was a quick video just running over the effects of Mannequin Cat and the targets as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.